guys, it's Glenn from glenscarcollection.com, and today's going to be my 18-month review of my 2017 rear drive Porsche Carrera, base Carrera, with a manual transmission. All right, so can you believe we've owned this car 18 months? I just posted, I believe, I'm not sure which I'll post, my M340iX drive, which I leased in 2020, the 18th month review on that. And then I totally forgot, I bought this a week before that, so we're already on 18, probably 19 months. So I'm gonna go over values, what I paid, what it's worth now, because obviously the market's crazy, it's actually gone up in value, why I chose this car, how the maintenance has been like. Modifications are coming soon. Actually, I just bought the parts for my first mod, so we'll have in the next coming weeks that mod going on, installation, so you guys can check that out. So be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss that. And while you're doing that, like and share this video and always leave a positive comment below. We'll also talk about wear and tear. We're going to get to that. That's probably going to be the biggest thing so far. So I bought this car Memorial Day weekend of 2020. So literally the dealership was just opening up. We were just getting off the lockdown. I guess we were sort of on lockdown. So my dream had always been, because I always go into Porsche dealerships and look at the cars they have there, whether they're 911s or Caymans or whatever. My dream would be to go into a Porsche dealership, point to the car I want, and take it home. So because of the lockdown, I actually could never set foot in the dealership. I had to wait outside as they brought the car to me. But hey, you know what? Close enough. And I'm fine with buying used. Most of the cars that I buy are used, unless it's like the M340iX drive beside me, you know, where I leased it new or something like that. But 90% of the time I buy used cars, so perfectly fine. So I bought this car in 2020. It's a 2017 model, which is the first year of the 991.2. And that's when they went to turbo. So having owned 3 911s, I always liked the .2 model. So my first 911 ever and my first Porsche was a 2002 996 C4S. Let me take my phone off. It's always busy being a real estate agent. 2017, it was the 991.2. I'm a big believer of the .2s. I think that they're the best, and I think the 992.2 will be as well. As much as I would love to have a new 992, I think the .2 will be even better. So my first Porsche, again, 2002 996 C4S. I really wanted at the time a 996 turbo, but they were out of my reach. So the 996 C4S gave me the wide body from the turbo. I think it even looks better with the red stripe. Basically the turbo brakes and suspension, everything but the turbo, for about $30,000 less. And it's probably about the same in the used market as well. And I bought that car used, obviously. I bought it with about 40,000 miles. Ran it up to about 80,000 miles, and it was a semi-daily driver. I drove it a lot, maybe 3 days a week, and tracked it on the weekends. And it's one of the few cars coming from tracking Corvettes, Camaros, Mustangs, M3s, where the brakes never faded. You could actually buy that car, go to the track, be very competitive, and drive home and not have to worry about brake fade, where my M3s would fade after a couple laps. Even my Z06 Corvettes and regular Corvettes would fade after a couple laps. So Porsche, the engine would always run cool, and the brakes never faded. So even at a $20,000 price point for a 996 C4S, and they're worth a lot more now, you could be very competitive at the track and don't have to worry about getting home. You always get home. So I love the .2s. I think the 02 to 05 996s are much better than the 99 to 01s. They went from a 3.4 liter to a 3.6 liter flat 6. .2s always have all the improvements, and you're saying, oh, well, 05, the 997.1 came out. That's true, but in 05, for the 996s, they still made the GT3, which was 04 and 05. The 996 Turbo S, I think they were all Turbo S's in 05, and the C4S. So there were still $88,000 MSRP C4S's in model year, 2005, when the S came out for the 997.1. I'm a big believer of the 997.2 is superior to the 997.1, though they're crazy prices, maybe too crazy. And I think as much as I like the naturally aspirated high revving engines, I think the 993 turbocharged power, which spoiled me, and that's why I like the .2 so much, because you get that surge of turbo power. Now in the less powerful cars, like the Cayman, I love that it's naturally aspirated, because you got to rev it out. You got to kind of almost like an S2000 drive, like you stole it. For the 911s, I actually prefer the turbos. So I wanted a .2, because I think the .2s of any generation are always better than the .1s. And it was just a benefit having all this torque down low, and it really feels so much faster than the .1s. And then you get a nicer PCM, which I don't really care about, but I essentially was looking at, when I sold the McLaren, I was looking for, and I shopped around, I wanted an Audi R8 V10 manual, which I wasn't able to get. I had one lined up, but it fell through, and there's only 725 of those cars, so it's very hard to get a decent one that comes up for sale that somebody's willing to sell. I thought about GT3s and missed the boat on that. We'll do another video how crazy the GT3 market got. So I just wanted a Miami Blue manual. So I wasn't looking for a base, but I did like the base the most because it acts least like a turbocharged engine, because I like those high revving naturally aspirated. So you get the power and torque of a turbo without feeling as a turbo. I've driven the GTS, the turbos, the S's, and they're essentially the same engine, the same 3-liter flat six, but they have bigger turbos. So yeah, you get more boost when it comes on, more shove in the back, but it's a little more of an on and off switch. Not 1990 Super on and off switch, but for a modern car, there's a lot more turbo lag, where this is a lot more linear, and I almost feel like I'm driving a naturally aspirated car, because you don't really hear the turbos unless the windows are down. Then you hear that turbo whoosh noise. So that's what I wanted. I didn't care. Even though I love the base, I didn't care whether it was a base, S, or GTS, so this kind of fell in my lap. So why not a Carrera T? Well, I couldn't find a Carrera T in Miami Blue. I think there's only like a handful of them, like maybe 30. And there's not too many of these. Most Miami Blue cars, I think they made maybe about 300. There's a lot of Miami Blue GT3s, a lot of them, .2s. There's not many Carreras, because the GT3 was the most popular selling model, not the regular Carrera. So for the Carrera, Carrera S, and GTS is pretty rare. And when you do find a Miami Blue, it comes in a PDK 90% of the time. Say there's 300 of them 90% of the time. Then there's like 30 manual cars, and most of those have that white interior. I don't know if they call it white or silver, and I want a black interior. So this car I plan to hang on for a long time, because it's very rare to find Miami Blue manual black interior. And because I've had all-wheel drive 911s, I wanted rear drive. So I didn't want a 4. I wanted actually a rear drive car. So the Carrera T will certainly be worth more money. The cost of entry is probably $15,000 to $20,000 more, maybe even more than that for a Carrera T. I test drove a Carrera T in GT Silver, and though I liked it, which kind of led to me buying this car, and I actually have a video of a white Carrera T, but that was modified, I don't notice the weight difference, because unless you delete the back seat, it's 40. If you delete the back seat, it's 44 pounds difference. If you don't, it's only 11 pounds difference. You have a couple lightweight things. You have the GT2 RS glass, which you won't feel the difference, and some shorter gears, which maybe you'll feel the difference. I'm not sure, because I drove a tuned car, I couldn't tell, but I know I did like it. So to me, it wasn't worth the $20,000 premium. Now that premium may be bigger in the future, because I believe the T would be collectible, but essentially I have all the elements here, which is a rear drive turbo and stick. Any real turbo models, like 991.1, the 993 turbo, they're always all-wheel drive, at least the more modern ones, to get that, so they wouldn't be Widowmakers, to get that traction to the pavement. So I think it's still going to be a car that people, enthusiasts, will look for, a base S GTS, a rear drive manual with the turbos. So, and again, I didn't buy this for you or any collectability, I bought it for me, so it's my favorite brand, Porsche, my favorite color, Miami Blue, in my favorite transmission, which is manual. So just phenomenal, and I really, really love this car. Now, I bought this car with 8,000 miles 18 months ago, probably 19 months before you see this. I more than doubled the miles. I'm at 17,000 miles right now. So I put 9,000 miles on it in a year, and I had 5 to 7 cars this year. So that was pretty remarkable as a third car, let's say, or a fourth car, that I'm getting all that mileage. And why I love it so much, I try to drive it on the weekends as much as I can, and you know, that's why there's so many miles on it. So maintenance so far, I think I've had, it was fully serviced when I got it, and because it was a low mileage car, I believe, and I could be wrong, I'd have to check the service records, and I have all the records, and I have an over rev report where there were no over revs and all that other stuff, and basically just basic maintenance and oil change so far. They did a full service when I got it, which was probably the 30,000 mile service, because it went by time. It may have even been more than that. So everything was changed. The only thing this car has wear and tear is at around 6,000 miles. Again, I bought it with 8. It had new rear tires. Now, as far as my experience with 911's rear tires, because you have the engine sitting right there and really pushing into the ground, and you always have sticky tires with these cars. I have the Pirelli tires on them, and the P0. They last about 10,000 miles. So I've put about 11,000 miles on these cars, and I think I'm going to need rear tires soon. So that's probably something I'm going to do in the spring. Probably get another 1,000 miles or so out of these tires, but I like to drive at Spirit at least, so it's probably not worth taking a chance. I never replace the tires before the winter, because I'll store this car for the winter. I'll drive it if there's no salt on the road, so that's only going to be a handful of times. So what I do is I always store the car on the old tires, so if they do flat spot, and I'll pump them up. I'll do another video how to winterize your car. if I pump them up 5 psi or whatever to store them for the winter, you still may have some flat spotting if the winter's bad enough where there's salt on the road. So I'm going to need tires for the NSX next year too. So what I always do is store it on the old tires, and if they flat spot, no big deal. As soon as the spring comes and I'm going to be driving the car again, I'll put on a new set of tires. So this will need a new set of rears. They're probably expensive. I wouldn't be surprised. They're probably $400 to $500, probably $500 installed. And I think I'm going to keep the P0s just because I'm used to the handling. I'd like at some point to get 4S's on all the cars. I have 4S's on the S2000. Maybe that'll be a 4S on the R8 at some point. But the tires are pretty much new on that car. So I don't want to mix and match the tires. You probably, with the 911s, in my experience, you go through 2 sets of rear for every set of fronts. So I get the rears of the P0s again. And then 10,000 miles from now, I'll probably need tires all around, and then maybe I'll go to 4S's there. All right, so we covered the mod. We covered what I need to do maintenance-wise, wear and tear. Let's cover the options. So besides Miami Blue Manual, I would spec everything in this car except for one thing, the sunroof. I love the manual seats. It saves weight, and I only have to adjust my seat once. It has the sport exhaust, which is a must. I don't have sports chrono, and I didn't even realize when I bought this, you only get the rev matching with the sports chrono, so I have to heel tone myself. So that's great, because when I had first world problem, but when I had the M2 and the M1M, the M2 was my first car with automatic rev matching. So when I got in the 1M, the NSX, the S2000, those other cars, I had to like heel toe all over again because my daily driver was the M2 and always rev match for me. And you could take it off, but then you had to take all the nannies off, so it wasn't that easy. So I actually love that this car doesn't do the automatic rev match for me, because I can jump in any one of my cars, the R8, the S2000, the NSX, the others, and I'll heel toe just like I do every single day because there's no automatic rev matching. So I love that. One thing I don't like is the hill hold. So on my E90 M3, my 1 Series M, the M2, it was seamless. You didn't even know you had hill hold. You can be on the steepest hill and you just drive as if you were flat. Instead of brake based, I believe the system is clutch based. So when you put the clutch on there and you're on a hill, you feel like there's an anchor holding you back. And the first time I test drove, not this particular car, but another, I think it was the Carrera T, I stalled it like 4 times at a light. I couldn't get past the light because I didn't realize it had the hill hold. And so I was probably giving it too much gas or let the clutch out. And when it stalls, this car, it's so easy to drive stick now. You just put your foot on the clutch pedal and it automatically restarts. So you don't have to even start it. So that's a little tricky if you don't expect it, because you stall, put your foot on, it restarts, and you didn't realize it restarts, so you're still moving your feet around, you stall again. It was very embarrassing. So I don't like that it's clutch based. So a lot of times what I'll do is if I'm on a steep hill, which is pretty rare, I let it roll back a little bit with the brake so it doesn't engage, and then I can just drive it like you would do on a regular car. You're going to roll back, so you do it quickly and smoothly. And because I don't like how this is almost like an anchor where you have to give it almost so much revs to pull it away, because it feels like there's an anchor there. All right, so that's so would I buy this again? 1,000%. I'm glad that I got to drive it 9,000 miles in a year and a half. That's fantastic. Probably almost 10 by the time you see this video. And I could see keeping this car for a long time. So modifications. I bought one mod. We'll get into that. I'll do probably a separate video on that. As far as tuning it, I think I'm going to do at some point, I'm going to tune it, because I drove a Carrera T-Tune, and that was amazing. So this would be even more amazing, even more visceral with it. So I think I'll tune it at some point and maybe even do more aggressive alignment, since I like taking it on mountain drives. I may, depending on how things go, and I have the R8 now and I want to get an exhaust for the R8, that'll be a springtime project, that I may put off the tune on this car just to the warranty expires. So this was a CPO. Let me get into that. All German cars used to do a 2-year CPO, 6 years from the original in-service date, 100,000 miles. So if you bought the car as the 4 years was up or already up, you would get a 2-year, essentially unlimited mile CPO, as long as the car was under 50,000 miles. So I bought this car. It had 1 year left of the 4-year 50,000 mile warranty, which is standard on most German cars, Audi, BMW, Mercedes. They've all gone to 1 year unlimited mile CPOs, where Porsche still does 2-year unlimited miles. So since I had 1 year left on the 450, as long as I didn't hit 50,000 miles, which I wouldn't, I bought this with 8,000 miles, in that year, I would have an unlimited CPO with the 2 years, because I was under the 50. If I was over the 50, then I would then the 2-year warranty would kick in, and then I believe it only goes to 100,000 miles. I could be wrong. So essentially, I bought this car with 3 years, as long as I didn't hit 50,000 in the first year, a 3-year unlimited mileage warranty. So my goal was, hey, This is not a Ferrari Lamborghini. It's a Porsche. It's very reliable. I'm just going to have to worry about tires, brakes, oil changes, maintenance, that kind of stuff. So drive it as much as I can. And luckily, I think I've exceeded to do that. I wouldn't be surprised if we had 12 or 15,000 miles in 18 months had we not had the pandemic and being home for 5 or 6 months. So let's see, what else? Values. So I bought this car for $75,000 during the lockdown. That was cheap. These cars were probably realistically a 2017 in this color and stick, because I think you get at least an extra $10,000 for the color, and I think you get an extra at least $5,000 for the stick. So these cars probably were selling for about $90,000 in 2019, early 2020 when the lockdown happened. This dropped all the way down to $75,000, so I bought it instantly. There wasn't even a picture online when I bought this car. So I said, "Are you sure it's Miami blue?" Because I always see Miami blue, and then you go there, it's like dark blue, some color that's not even, a lot of dealers. Luckily, this was a Porsche Audi dealer, so they knew their colors. So I bought it only before I went down to the dealership because I didn't want to lose this car. Now values are the opposite. I would say this car is $90,000 to $100,000. I wouldn't be surprised if it was $100,000 and put it for sale, even with 17,000 miles. Because of the color, probably adds 10 grand, and the transmission in this market probably adds another 5 to 10 grand. So I see bases right now, similar mileage to this, about under 20,000 miles. This is 17, that are black or silver for 90,000, 90-something thousand, and they're PDK cars. So I think, honestly, if I sold this, I'd probably ask $99,900, a manual transmission, Miami blue. And that'll change, obviously, with the market. The market will have some kind of reset. But then I think enthusiasts are going to go back to buying manual transmission cars. And this color is discontinued, so I think in the future there's going to be a big premium for Miami blue. They made them on the 991.2s, which were 2017, 2019, and the first year the 992s, which is 2020. So this was only available 4 model years. So what would make me sell this car? Probably one thing, and the one thing would be, I love the 992s. If I could get a 992, but it'd have to be a 2020 in Miami blue with a manual transmission, the S, and that's really the only thing that would make me sell this car. But otherwise, I think this car is going to be keeper for a long time, and I look forward to doing mods and sharing them with you and giving you updates on the car. Thanks again for watching. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Nobody